Have you ever been up against a problem that just felt impossible? Well, let's jump into this incredible story about a king, his super brave son, and a battle that seemed hopeless. It's all about fear versus faith, and two totally different ways to handle a giant challenge.
Okay, so picture this. A huge army is marching towards you. But when you look around at your friends, you realize hardly anyone has a weapon. What do? Do you hide? Do you run? Do you try to fight anyway? That is the exact choice the heroes in our story are facing.
So this was the real-life situation for the people of Israel and their leader, King Saul. They were staring down their powerful enemies, the Philistines. And to put it lightly, things were not looking good at all. The entire army was shaking in their boots, and you know what? Their king was right there with them, starting to panic.
Look, this wasn't just a tough fight. It was basically impossible. The Philistines had 30,000 chariots and an army so big it was like the sand on the seashore. Meanwhile, the Israelites, they were so scared they were literally hiding in caves and holes in the ground. And get this, the craziest part. Only King Saul and his son Jonathan even had swords. That's right, just 2 swords for the whole army.
So in this super scary situation, King Saul got a very specific instruction from God, which came through the prophet Samuel. And it wasn't just an order. It was a test, a huge test of his trust.
The instructions were actually pretty simple. Just wait for 7 days. The prophet Samuel would show up, make an offering to God for help, and then they'd get the plan. But you can imagine, every single day Saul waited. His army got smaller and smaller. His soldiers were losing hope, and Saul, well, he was losing his patience, fast.
And on that 7th day, the pressure was just too much. His army was disappearing, and Saul panicked. He just couldn't wait another second. So he disobeyed God's clear command and did the sacred offering himself, a job that was only for the prophet to do. He tried to take control, and in doing so, he broke the one rule he was supposed to follow.
And wouldn't you know it, the moment he finished, Samuel arrived. The prophet didn't mince words. He told Saul that because he had acted so foolishly and just couldn't trust God and wait, his kingdom wouldn't last. His impatience had a massive cost.
But while the king was busy failing his test of trust, his son, Prince Jonathan, had a completely different idea. His plan wasn't based on fear at all. Nope, it was built on some serious faith.
So Jonathan, who really truly trusted God, came up with this wild plan. He turns to his loyal armor-bearer, the only other guy with a sword, and basically says, hey, let's go take on the entire Philistine army. Just the 2 of them.
And Jonathan's reason for this crazy plan was actually pretty simple. He believed that for God, the number of soldiers didn't matter one bit. God could bring victory with a giant army or with just 2 guys. He had complete faith that if God was on their side, there was no way they could lose.
So, armed with this incredible faith, Jonathan and his friends set off on their secret mission. And get this, nobody else in the Israelite camp even knew they were gone.
They came up with a plan to ask for a sign. Jonathan said, if the Philistine guards see us and yell, "Come on up and fight," then we'll know God's with us. And sure enough, that's exactly what the guards shouted. So they started climbing this super steep rocky cliff, a way the enemy never thought anyone could get up, and snuck right into their camp.
And as Jonathan and his armor-bearer started fighting the enemy guards, something absolutely incredible happened. God sent a miracle. A powerful earthquake suddenly shook the ground, and it must have felt like a massive army was charging them.
Jonathan's faith was rewarded with total chaos. The earthquake terrified the Philistine soldiers so much that they panicked and started fighting each other. The Israelites, seeing all this confusion from their hiding spots, realized something was happening. They rushed out, joined the fight, and chased the terrified enemy away, winning a victory that was just stunning.
But right when his army was winning this amazing victory, a victory started by his own son, King Saul, probably wanting to grab all the credit, made another really bad decision.
He made this rash, selfish promise. He ordered his soldiers, who were totally exhausted and starving from fighting all day, that they were forbidden from eating a single bite of food until evening. Why? Because he wanted all the glory for finishing the battle himself.
Of course, Jonathan, the actual hero who started this whole thing, was off fighting somewhere else. He never even heard his father's new rule. So, when he came across some wild honey in the woods, he ate a little bit just to get his strength back. Makes sense, right?
Well, when King Saul found out that Jonathan had eaten the honey, he was furious.
He was so proud and so stubborn about his foolish promise, so worried about looking weak, that he made a shocking decision. He sentenced his own son, the hero who had just saved everyone, to death. But the people of Israel, they refused to let it happen. They actually stood up to their king. They looked him in the eye and declared that Jonathan, the hero who had worked with God that day, would absolutely not be harmed. The people saved the hero from their own king.
So when you look at it, the story shows this huge difference between two leaders. King Saul was driven by fear and impatience, and it just led him to disobey God and make everything worse. But Prince Jonathan, he was driven by faith and courage, which led him to trust God and, well, save the entire nation.
In the end, this whole story shows us a really powerful truth. Real strength doesn't always come from having the biggest army or being the one in control. Sometimes, a real victory comes from one person's trust in something greater than themselves, especially when everything looks impossible.
And that kind of leaves us with something important to think about for our own lives. When we're facing a giant challenge, something that feels overwhelming, which path do we usually go down? The one of fear, like Saul, or the one of faith, like Jonathan? It's a choice we all get to make.